My mom is a major player in the city's elite circle, sharp and decisive, her word is law. My dad is a total drama queen and gold digger, young, fit, and an expert at playing the victim. A lot of handsome, powerful men would sneer at my dad, saying things like, "You're just a plaything for the bedroom. Do you really think she'll marry you?" That stuff always hit him right where it hurt. Dad would be heartbroken, but behind the scenes, he'd secretly drive those same men into bankruptcy, all without my mom ever finding out. By day, he was a doting father and a shark in the business world. By night, he turned on the waterworks to charm my mom. I once heard him muttering while he was schooling someone, "So what if I'm putting on an act? I can keep it up for her my whole life." Little did he know, my mom was sitting upstairs, holding me, with a casual smile on her face. "Luna," she said, "as long as it works in your favor, you have to learn to turn a blind eye." From a young age, I knew my mom was a big-shot socialite and my dad was a two-faced drama king. Dad's biggest wish every day was to trail behind mom like a puppy, always on call, ready to be dismissed at a moment's notice. He wanted to be with her constantly, even at fancy parties. I'd watch my mom, chic in a champagne-colored suit, holding a wine glass and mingling effortlessly, the center of attention. I'd be nestled in my dad's arms, and we'd both just stare lovingly at my mom. Looks like any riff-raff can get in here these days. Alexis is being way too generous. Some people think they're hot stuff just because they've latched onto someone powerful. They're nothing but a boy toy. You really think Alexis would marry you? I knew what Dad would say about them, it was just sour grapes. They wished they had the chance to be my mom's puppy. Even so, Dad would sometimes cry by my bed at night, whispering to himself that we already had a child, so why wouldn't Mom make it official? I'd give a lazy yawn, and suddenly all eyes would be on me. The aggressive businessmen would instantly transform into friendly uncles. "Is little Luna sleepy? Uncle can take you to find your mommy. Luna, sweetie, let's go buy you a new dress and get some yummy food. Or how about I become your daddy? I promise I'll be twice as good to you." Dad's face would turn thunderously dark, but then a sly smile would spread across his face. "So what if I'm a boy toy? At least I'm not like some people who don't even get to be her dog." She was willing to have Luna with me. She loves me. She's crazy about me. I sighed and rested my chin on my hand. I'd seen this scene way too many times. In private, my dad and these other guys were all mature, ruthless businessmen, but whenever they got together, they acted like total children. The men's faces darkened. They'd childishly accidentally step on my dad's shoe, bump his shoulder, and knock his wine glass to the floor, drawing stares from everyone. Some were curious, some were sizing him up, and some were just enjoying the show. But what they didn't get was that my dad wasn't just a hopeless romantic, he was a master of drama. His eyes turned red and teary. He shot my mom a timid glance, biting his lower lip as his hand, the one holding me, trembled slightly. He looked around nervously. "Alexis, I know I'm not good enough and I embarrassed you. I probably shouldn't come to these things anymore. It's just that Luna is still so young, and you have to remember to come home early. She always cries when she can't see you, and I miss you too." With that, his eyes welled up with tears, and he clutched me tightly as he started to walk towards the exit. Sigh. I was just a prop in my parents' little drama. A wine glass clinked against a table, and the whole room went silent. Everyone was waiting to see how my mom would react. Mom casually tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her smile radiant. Yet, there was an aura about her that commanded respect. "You're my person. Who dares to make you leave?" Holding me, Dad spun around, then looked down at me with a sad smile. "Alexis, what am I, really? I shouldn't bother you." One of the hot-headed guys couldn't take it anymore. "Alexis, there are so many important people here tonight. It's not worth it over some boy toy." Mom's smile only grew wider. I silently mourned for this guy. The brighter her smile, the harsher the takedown. A gentler guy shushed him and offered Mom a glass of warm water. Alexis, you shouldn't get too invested in something that has no future. Mom didn't take the water. She walked over to Dad and bent down to pinch my chubby cheek. Who says there's no future? You don't need to worry yourselves about our marriage. The arm holding me stiffened. He looked down at Mom, the corner of his mouth curving up higher and higher. Dad was grinning from ear to ear. On the way home, Dad was practically glowing. He'd hug and kiss me one moment, then glance excitedly at Mom the next, before secretly taking her hand. Once we were home, he was a total mess. He rushed through my bedtime story, saying, "Sweetheart, you'll have to put yourself to sleep tonight, okay? Daddy has to go secure his official title. Whatever you want tomorrow, I'll buy it for you." Tucked under my little blanket, I watched his cheerful back and pouted. Mom always said you can't trust a word a man says. Unfortunately for Dad, he was in for a disappointment. I was snuggled up with my soft, sweet-smelling mom, while Dad stood at her bedroom door, hugging a pillow, before shuffling away dejectedly. Mom casually pinched my cheek. "Sweetie, do you know why they were ganging up on your dad tonight?" I buried my face in her neck and took a deep breath. "Because all those guys like you, so they don't like Dad." Wrong. They don't like me, they like the company behind me, the connections, and the value I can bring them. And your dad gets picked on for the exact same reason. I looked up at her and nodded, only half understanding. Mom smiled and ruffled my hair, gently patting my back to lull me to sleep. "Luna, as my daughter, you're not a princess, you're a king. One day, you'll stand at the very top, and people will look up to you. I'll give you everything you need, resources, connections, money, power. The only thing I can't give you is my constant presence. Does that make me a bad mom in your eyes?" I wrapped my arms around her neck and argued back in my sweet little voice, "You're the best mom in the whole world. Luna loves you the most." Mom looked at me for a long time before pulling me into a tight, silent hug. Mom went on a business trip, and just like that, Dad became a completely different person. The white t-shirts, jeans, and sneakers were gone. In their place was a perfectly tailored black suit and sleek leather shoes. His soft hair was slicked back. He went from a harmless pretty boy to an intimidating, powerful boss. Every time Mom was away, Dad transformed. He'd hold me with one arm and a laptop with the other, with a trail of executives following him, giving him constant reports. "Mr. Liu, the funds for the project we selected last week are in place. The investment department recommends a second round of risk assessment. Mr. Liu, we've screened the proposals. There are 3 contenders, a gaming company, a new energy tech firm, and an AI startup. Mr. Liu, the unicorn company from the last investment round is already profitable. Should we continue to invest?" Dad walked with an air of authority, handling business matters while still remembering to adjust my baby bottle. "Don't be lazy. Finish your milk. Let's see if you can grow 3 centimeters before your mom gets back. Invest directly in the AI company. And sell off our existing shares in the others. Make sure to offload them onto the Lee Corporation. And cut our partnership with them. Let them find someone else." Sipping my milk, I thought to myself that another one of those guys was about to have a very bad time. Less than 2 weeks later, the hot-headed businessman was begging outside Dad's office. Meanwhile, I was listlessly letting my dad dress me up, getting ready to act cute for Mom's return. "Should we go with the teddy bear outfit or the bunny one?" "Let's do the bunny. Your mom said I had good taste last time you wore this." The man from outside burst through the door and froze when he saw us. His assistant had to remind him why he was there. "It was you? You set me up on purpose." Dad straightened the hood of his sweatshirt and gave the man a bright smile. "Whatever do you mean? How could a worthless plaything like me possibly compare to you?" The man's jaw tightened, but he eventually bowed his head. "Mr. Liu, I was a fool and didn't realize who you were. Please, be merciful and spare me. My company can offer another 5% in concessions." Draped over my dad's shoulder, I remembered what my mom said, "If you have enough leverage, if you stand high enough, people will naturally flock to you with praise and affection. Dad tapped the man's face with a project proposal, his eyes wide with mock innocence, but his smile was icy. You wanted to be my daughter's father? Who gave you the nerve? What goes on between her and me is none of your business. Why don't you just wish us a happy marriage and a long life together, Mr. Lee? The man knew my dad wouldn't let him off the hook, so he decided to hit him where it hurt. Leo, does Alexis know her biggest rival is the man sleeping next to her? Ha ha ha, Leo, I can't wait to see the day she throws you out. Dad's smile vanished. His entire demeanor turned dark and menacing, his eyes filled with a chilling intensity. He grabbed the man by the collar and kicked him hard. Before Dad could strike again, I shook my phone watch. Daddy, we're going to be late. Like a chameleon, Dad instantly switched back to his pretty boy persona. He patted the man's cheek with a warning. If a single word of this gets out, I'll skin you alive. Dad acted all tough in front of the guy, but he was actually panicking. Standing at the airport arrivals gate, he kept muttering about what would happen if Mom found out the truth, and how I had to stick up for him, at least for all the years he spent raising me. He even started asking me who I would choose if he and Mom ever split up. You should probably stick with me, he concluded. With a hostage in hand, I'm not afraid of your mom ignoring me. I yawned in his arms. But Mom already knew all along. Ever since I can remember, Mom taught me that my career comes first. Men come and go, but a career is forever. Freedom is built on having enough money, and a career is the foundation for earning it. Mom said she knew Dad's true identity even before she got pregnant with me. Even though he tried to hide it, there are no secrets that can be kept forever. One time, she ended a business trip early to surprise him. Instead, she saw him getting into a limited edition Lexus to attend an auction. The auction staff respectfully escorted him into a private suite. The man who was so gentle and attentive with her had an aura so cold and hard you wouldn't dare look him in the eye. She sat silently in the Shing family's private suite, casually flipping through the auction catalog with a sense of amusement, wanting to see if the man lying next to her at night was a man or a monster. The final item was a top-tier imperial jade hairpin, translucent and brilliant, a rare find on the market, especially crafted into a hairpin. The bids climbed steadily. When the price hit $120 million, the man in the suite next to hers finally spoke, $200 million. In that moment, she couldn't quite describe the feeling, anger at being fooled, self-mockery for being so blind, regret for her poor judgment. She mockingly added one more dollar to the bid. The suite next to hers went silent for a long time, and she could faintly hear the sound of a chair being knocked over in a panic. In the end, she won the hairpin for $200,001. She stayed at a friend's house for 2 days, following the breadcrumbs until she had uncovered everything about him. It was almost comical that this major player in the city, known for being so elusive, had been living right under her roof the whole time. She returned home on her originally scheduled day, acting as if nothing had happened. She looked him up and down, this house husband of hers, in a hoodie, shorts, a stylish haircut, and a Hello Kitty apron. He fidgeted with the hem of his hoodie, biting his lip shyly, but his eyes were full of unease. Alexis, are you just back from your trip? I think I saw you on the road. In that instant, she smiled. You must have been mistaken. I just got off the plane, and I'm exhausted. From now on, you should come pick me up. She wanted a child, and naturally, she needed a man with superior genes. As it turned out, Mom's decision was the right one. When she was pregnant, Dad followed her around like a shadow. During labor, he scratched the paint off the delivery room walls, leaving behind bloody handprints. Mom said Dad was an excellent stay-at-home dad. Initially, they hired a top-tier nanny, but even the best nannies could be neglectful. When I suddenly developed a fever in the middle of the night, Dad was the first to notice. She said she'd never seen him like that before. His eyes were bloodshot, he floored the gas pedal, but his hands and feet were trembling. He stumbled into the emergency room carrying me and stood there alone all night. After that, he insisted on doing everything himself. Feeding, changing diapers, and soothing me, he handled it all. To this day, he still checks on me in my room every night, touching my forehead to make sure I'm not sick. My aunts would often tease Mom, asking her to introduce them to a high-quality man like Dad, saying they didn't care about the cost since money was the one thing they had plenty of. Mom never exposed Dad's secret. After all, he was young, clean, energetic, a great caregiver, and basically free. What wasn't to love? Even with those men who deliberately provoked Dad, Mom often found them disagreeable anyway. She was happy to see them get what they deserved. She called it using someone else to do your dirty work. I looked up at Dad's sharp jawline and felt a pang of sympathy for him. What a poor guy. But in his mind, Mom was crazy about him. She was willing to be with him, to have his child. Oh, how she loved him. People started pouring out of the international arrivals gate. Dad stood on his tiptoes, holding a bouquet of flowers in one hand and me in the other. I pouted and joined his eager watch. I missed my mom, too. The words of that hot-headed guy had really gotten to Dad. After we got home, he stuck to Mom's side, trying to sound casual but full of hopeful expectation. Luna's getting bigger. When she has parent-teacher conferences and the teacher asks who I am, what should I say? Mom was scrolling through her emails on her tablet, not even looking up. You're her dad, and I'm her mom. Dad fell silent for a moment, then leaned his head on her shoulder like a helpless puppy. Alexis, but what if they ask about our relationship? Mom put down her tablet and looked at him with a half-smile. We're co-parenting partners, of course. Sitting on the carpet, I could almost hear my dad's heart breaking. Ever since Mom's declaration at the party, Dad had been switching between euphoria and anxiety. Was this a midlife crisis? But he was still young. Dad kept probing, undeterred. I felt second-hand embarrassment and pity for him. Alexis, they all say a man should build a career and then a family. If I had a successful career, shouldn't we start thinking about marriage? Mom patted his cheek, cruelly crushing his last glimmer of hope. It's normal to want to fly on your own when your ambitions grow. Just one thing, the one thing I hate most is deception. Got it? Dad nodded, his smile uglier than a grimace. That night, he hugged me while crying silently, asking me what he should do. I stared blankly at the glow in the dark stars on my ceiling, which Dad had supposedly stuck up one by one. I sighed and patted his shoulder. Dad, you're already doing great. At least right now, you're the only man in Mom's life. That only made him cry harder. He had made up his mind, he would make Mom see just how irreplaceable he was. Dad decided to throw himself into his work. In the morning, he'd make breakfast for Mom but stubbornly refused to see her off, instead sneaking me into his office like a thief. The executives at his company were miserable. Who could understand their boss's sudden, inexplicable burst of ambition? They were finishing a month's worth of work in a week. Privately, they were all praying for his love life to get back on track, because they couldn't take much more of this. Dad was determined to give Mom the cold shoulder, but whenever she called for him at night, he'd scurry off to wait on her like a forgotten concubine summoned by the emperor. She can't live without me, he'd rationalize. I secretly told Mom about Dad's hypocrisy, and she just laughed and tweaked my nose. Luna, that's just how people are. Focus on yourself, improve yourself, and everyone else will make way for you. You're my daughter. One day, you'll stand on my shoulders and see an even bigger world. Our little Luna must have 100% control over herself. Don't let others easily influence you. I hugged her neck and nodded vigorously. When I grew up, I wanted to be just like her, wearing suits, looking cool and free. Mom went on another business trip. Dad became as cold and emotionless as a hitman. This coldness intensified after a setback, and for the first time, he even took me with him to a business meeting. The tea house was nice, but Dad was in a foul mood. Several of the guys who were into Mom had teamed up to set a trap, determined to expose his disguise. The ringleader sat arrogantly in his chair. Mr. Liu, long time no see. You've hidden yourself quite well, Mr. Liu. Your nerve and composure are truly impressive. It looks like the Xing family fortune will be in your pocket sooner or later. I looked up and saw a familiar figure. My eyes widened in surprise, and I slowly climbed the stairs, step by step, until I was happily nestled in my mother's arms. Downstairs, the tension between Dad and the other men had reached a boiling point. Leo, does Alexis know you're faking it? She hates being lied to more than anything. You think you can stay by her side? Dream on. Dad's eyes were red with fury. So what if I'm faking it? I can keep up the act in front of her for the rest of my life. Little did he know, my mom was sitting on the floor above, holding me, a casual smile on her face. Luna, she whispered, as long as it's to your benefit, you have to learn to turn a blind eye. The man who had been hit smirked triumphantly and shouted up towards our private room, Alexis. You saw all that, didn't you? Dad froze, his head snapping up. The moment his eyes met Mom's, he was thrown into a complete panic. He instinctively started to come upstairs but then stopped, rooted to the spot. Mom looked down and instructed me, but once things are out in the open, you deal with them as you must. Dad was kicked out of the house, the kind where he was tossed out with his pillow and blanket. I pressed my face against the huge floor-to-ceiling window and watched him standing outside the gate, his eyes red from crying, frantically calling Mom's phone. Mom sat at her desk, completely focused on her work. I took it upon myself to grab her phone and answer. Alexis, you can't do this to me. I can explain everything. Please, just let me in. I replied in my softest little voice, Daddy, it's Luna. His voice faltered, caught between a sob and a laugh. Sweetie, is Mommy still working? Remember to tell her to take a break. There's a salad I made in the fridge. Don't kick off your blankets when you sleep, and don't forget to drink your milk. I looked up at Mom. She had stopped working and was staring vaguely out the window, lost in thought. I knew Mom was exhausted from work. She always said that it's much harder for women in this world, that she had to be 1,000 times better just to get the same opportunities as men, all so that I could have a better starting line in life. Mom wasn't the only heir to the Xing family fortune. She had to work incredibly hard to secure her position as the head of the Xing Corporation. I'll take care of Mom. You take care of yourself too, Daddy. I peeked at Mom and lowered my voice to a whisper. Daddy, Mom is secretly watching you. Dad was kicked out, but soon, Liu Corp officially approached Xing Corp. Dad came with a very generous partnership proposal, hoping to get a chance to see Mom. Ms. Xing, Liu Corp's proposal is very sincere and offers nothing but benefits for us. What I don't understand is, their company was built on venture capital, and Leo himself is famously elusive. Our company is massive, we're not typically the kind of partner they go for. Mom glanced at the proposal casually. Since they're bringing us a fortune, why would we turn it away? You'll be in charge of this project. I immediately understood what she meant. The proposal was welcome, but a meeting was out of the question. My dad was still a bit naive, or rather, when it came to my mom, he was always the loser. Dad was gone, but life went on. I still had to go to kindergarten. Mom didn't feel comfortable with me going alone, so she made a point of dropping me off and picking me up every day. Even when she was busy with work, one of my sweet aunts would come get me. The moment I saw Dad at the kindergarten gate, I leaped into his arms. Daddy, when are you going to get Mommy to forgive you? Completely unaware that I had just stabbed him in the heart, I was overjoyed, right up until he tried to kidnap me. Sweetie, call your mom. Tell her I've kidnapped you. Daddy, you're so childish. As it turns out, an old trick is still a good trick if it works. The moment Mom stepped into the house, Dad, channeling 3 parts drunk and 7 parts drama, turned into a whining puppy, clinging to her and apologizing. Alexis, I was wrong. I shouldn't have hidden it from you. I was just scared. I was scared you'd leave me if you found out. You can hit me, you can yell at me, just don't ignore me. Alexis, I miss you so much. Mom bent down to pick me up, staring straight at Dad. "Leo, if I hadn't found out, how long were you planning to hide this from me?" Dad was speechless. He would have hidden it for a lifetime, until Mom couldn't live without him. The moment Mom turned to leave, the whole house locked down with a click. No matter how hard she pushed, the door wouldn't open. Dad stood there holding a bouquet of vibrant roses, his eyes dark and intense. "Alexis, why won't you let me take care of you properly? I can cook and clean for you, I can take good care of you and Luna, I can also manage assets, with guaranteed profits. Why won't you just hire me? I only need a little bit of your love, just a little bit." Mom let out a cold, angry laugh as Dad took me from her arms and carried me up to my room, where I had food, drinks, and a security camera for company. The house was very soundproof, but I could still faintly hear the sound of furniture crashing, my mom's cursing, and my dad's muffled grunts. As I was lying on my bed contemplating the meaning of life, Dad tiptoed in. Our eyes met in a moment of silent understanding. Mom was right. Never trust what a man says. "Sweetheart, I have to disagree with that," Dad whispered. "What you did was a contribution to our family's harmony. Don't you want your mom and dad to make up?" I sat on my little stool and watched Dad bustling around the kitchen. His bare back was covered in scratches, and there was a fresh handprint on his face. The living room was a wreck. Dad hummed a tune as he carried a tray of food upstairs to Mom. "Fighting is a sign of affection. Your mom loves me. She's crazy about me." Halfway up the stairs, he clattered back down. "Sweetie, if anyone ever tries to pull that fighting is affection nonsense on you and bully you, you beat the living daylights out of them. Whatever happens, Dad's got your back." Mom didn't come downstairs all night. Dad had a new handprint on his other cheek. The next day, the living room was spotless, but the house was still locked. I sat at my little desk, completely bored with life. The only person more miserable than me was my dad. To win Mom's favor, he decided to tutor me early in the morning. He immediately regretted it, staring at my homework in disbelief. His adorable daughter just looked up at him with innocent eyes. Leo had seen pictures of Alexis as a child, and his daughter looked exactly like her. This resemblance usually made him soft-hearted and indulgent, but at this moment, he was at a loss for words. It didn't matter how powerful you were outside, running a massive company. Tutoring your own kid was enough to send you to an early grave. "Sweetie, you can't just inherit your mother's good looks. Our family has a huge business to run. If you don't take over the family business, how am I supposed to have a romantic life with your mom?" A soft laugh echoed from upstairs. Mom was leaning gracefully against the second-floor railing, the corners of her eyes tinged with a lingering redness. Leo just stared up at her, mesmerized. So beautiful. He wanted to merge with her, to devour her whole. The real mastermind behind Lu Capital Investment had finally emerged, and everyone in the city's elite circles was taking notice. In today's struggling economy, Lu Capital was like a walking ATM. But the true man in charge had always been notoriously low-key, few had ever seen him. No one knew why he had suddenly decided to step back into the spotlight. Regardless of the reason, invitations to all sorts of galas and dinners flooded his office. As the man of the hour, my dad got another slap across the face. But he just grabbed Mom's hand obsessively and kissed it. "Honey, you missed a spot." Mom was speechless with anger. Dad shamelessly leaned in closer, his face smiling but his eyes dark and intense. "Why won't you marry me? What's so bad about marrying me? Give me a title, baby. Give me a title. Alexis, whatever kind of man you like, that's what I'll be. Just give me a little something, a little bit of your love." I watched my dad downstairs, fixated on getting his official status, and shook my head. I went back to exploring my castle and pushed open a dark door. My mouth slowly formed an O. "Mommy. Is this a prison? There's a big cage, and handcuffs, and chains." I peeked out timidly from behind my mom. Dad's smile was more painful to look at than tears. "Luna, my dear, sweet daughter. No matter what, Dad still wouldn't let Mom leave. Watching the car disappear down the driveway, Mom gave a disdainful sneer and immediately called someone to change the locks. I sat in my car seat, my eyes sparkling as I watched my mom drive. She was so cool. Suddenly, the car jolted. The car behind us was closing in fast. Mom's brow furrowed as she floored the gas. Our car was sandwiched between them like an Oreo, sparks flying from the sides. I felt sick and couldn't stop gagging. Mom looked at me, her face a mix of anxiety and heartache. She gave in. I ran crying to my mom's side, pulling, tugging, and biting at the ropes tied around her. They were so tight, digging deep into her skin. Mom gently nudged my head with her chin. "Mark, just say it. What do you want?" Someone grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and lifted me up. I bit my lip hard to keep the tears from falling. I was my parents' daughter, I couldn't let them down. My cheek was squeezed hard. "Little Luna, why aren't you greeting your uncle? Is this how your mother raised you?" I opened my mouth and bit down hard on his finger. I hated my mom's relatives. They circled her like wolves, desperate to tear a piece of her away. Even though Mom was the most brilliant of her generation, 100 times more capable than any of her brothers or cousins, she still hadn't fully secured control of the family enterprise because the elders still held out hope for their less than capable sons. "Mark, if you dare touch a single hair on her head, I promise I'll make your life a living hell." "Sweetie, let go. Don't eat dirty things." The hand on my neck slowly loosened. I fell to the ground but scrambled right back to my mom's side, my eyes red with tears as I looked at her raw, chafed wrists and ankles. A stack of documents was placed in front of Mom. My uncle tugged on my little pigtail. "Alexis, my dear sister, let me give you some advice. A woman's place is at home, being a gentle and obedient wife and mother. What's the point of all this ambition? If you hadn't forced my hand, I wouldn't have had to do this. Mark, your biggest mistake was embezzling company funds and evading taxes. I can let you live a life of luxury, but I can't let you drag the Shin Corporation into ruin." He grabbed a fistful of her hair, yanking it violently. I used all my strength to bite and pry his hand away, but he just looked at me and laughed menacingly. "Alexis, even a cornered rabbit will bite. Let's make a bet. Let's see who breaks first, you or little Luna." What do you think of that bet?" "I need time to think." 2 hours. 30 minutes. "I'm only giving you 30 minutes. After that, don't blame your brother for being ruthless. You forced me to do this, you forced me." I hugged my mom's neck, my body shaking with uncontrollable sobs. I whispered "I'm sorry" in her ear. My mom knew powerful martial arts. If it weren't for me, she wouldn't have been caught and wouldn't have to put up with my uncle's threats. "Sweetie, the police will be here any minute. You're the one who let them know we're in danger. You're saving me." My eyes widened. Mom nodded with a serious, confident expression, her hands and feet constantly rubbing against the ropes. That man, Leo, knew one house couldn't hold them. He had planted a GPS tracker on me long ago. Kids are easy to overlook, and Mark would never have thought to check me for a tracker. The second hand on the clock ticked by, and my uncle grew visibly more agitated. He couldn't even wait 30 minutes. He threw the thick folder in front of Mom, trying to force her to sign. The moment I sensed he was about to grab me, I bolted, but he caught me anyway. He held me in front of Mom, my arm pinned so tightly I couldn't move. I heard the snip-snip of scissors behind me. "Alexis, are you going to sign it or not? Little Luna has such nice hair. I wonder if she'll still be as pretty after I shave her head bald." Mom's fists were clenched so tight her knuckles were white. I kicked the pile of folders over with all my might. I didn't know what he wanted her to sign, but if she didn't want to, she shouldn't have to. Snip! My pigtail came undone, and my dark hair fell to the floor like scattered petals. I stared blankly at the hair on the ground. Dad was always so careful when he washed and dried my hair, and he took such care braiding it every day. Mom's eyes were red with fury, her whole body trembling. Mark. I will make you pay for this, I swear. I gave Mom a big smile. Mommy. I can protect you now too. My uncle looked at my mom, then suddenly tossed me aside and grabbed a baseball bat. He walked straight towards her. Dead men tell no tales. If you're dead, you can take the blame for me. The bat swung high in the air. At that exact moment, the dilapidated metal door was kicked open by my dad. Dad's eyes looked like they were about to pop out of his head as he saw my mom on the floor and my uncle swinging the bat. He flew across the room like Superman and caught the bat before it could hit her. Finally, the last strand of rope gave way. Mom used Dad's arm as leverage and kicked my uncle clear across the room. Dad pounced on my uncle like a madman, punching him again and again. At first, my uncle fought back, but soon he was unconscious on the ground, being pummeled into a pulp. Leo, that's enough. You're going to kill him. So what? He deserves to die. I huddled in my mom's arms, a little scared of this version of my dad. Mom sighed and covered my eyes. Leo, my wrist hurts. Like a loyal dog on a leash, Dad was instantly at her side, kneeling carefully to inspect her wounds. Then, his eyes red, he gently touched my hair. I grinned, showing off my little baby teeth. I protected Mommy today. From now on, I can help you protect Mommy too. My words brought tears to Dad's eyes. Suddenly, his pupils dilated, and he threw his arms around both of us, twisting our bodies away. Everything was chaos. Mom's hands were covered in blood. My invincible dad collapsed to the ground. Alexis, he gasped, I approached you on purpose. Because I've been in love with you for a long, long time. Dad said he'd loved Mom for a very long time, back when he wasn't CEO Lou but just a high school kid getting by on scholarships. He was standing in a dark alley, silently smoking a cigarette, when he saw her step out of a top-of-the-line Maybach like a proud little swan. She stood in the sunlight, poised and noble, and asked him for directions. In that moment, Dad said, only one thought crossed his mind: supporting a woman like her must be incredibly expensive. He spent his 4 years in college studying like a madman, clawing his way into internships at major investment banks, and finally, without hesitation, started his own company. He saw her again when he returned to his old university as an honored alumnus to give a speech. Coincidentally, he was wearing a white shirt and jeans that day, and history repeated itself. Mom, representing the Xing Corporation, was invited by the university to present scholarships. She stood there again and asked him for directions. He recognized her in an instant. He smiled, his eyes crinkling. Of course, I can show you the way. Everything after that fell into place. He used his good looks to get her attention, playing the part of a poor college student on a work-study program to win her sympathy, and thus began his wonderful life as a drama king gold digger. I listened with fascination from his hospital bed. Wow. When I grow up, I'm going to be like Mom, wear suits, and have lots of boy toys. Dad choked on a sip of water and quickly covered my mouth, nervously glancing at Mom. Kids say the darndest things, kids say the darndest things. Mom sat with her arms crossed impatiently, asking Dad how much longer he planned on staying in the hospital. My uncle was sent to prison. Mom hired the best lawyers to sue him. The Xing family elders tried to plead for him, but Mom just threw a list of his crimes in their faces, successfully shutting them up. The Xing Corporation also went through a major cleanup, and Mom finally secured her position as CEO. Dad had injured his back protecting her and had already been in the hospital for a month, refusing to be discharged. If I leave, will you still come see me? Mr. Liu, even if you don't leave, I won't be coming back. With that, Mom stood up and walked away without a backward glance, leaving me and Dad to stare at each other. I tiptoed over to his ear and whispered, Daddy, Mom actually knew your identity a long time ago. She's just mad that you weren't completely honest with her. Dad's eyes lit up like a dog that had just spotted a bone. He hugged me and showered me with kisses. My darling daughter. The rest of my life's happiness depends on you. My uncle was sentenced to many years in prison. Dad said I probably wouldn't see him again in my lifetime. Later, Dad went to visit him in prison. I picked up the phone and looked at my uncle, now with a shaved head and a bruised face. My kindergarten teacher said that girls and boys are equal, and the idea that women should just stay home is some old-fashioned, backwards thinking. Did you sleep through all your classes or something? My teacher also said that the most capable person should be in charge. My mom is way better and makes more money than you. It should be you staying home to take care of the family. At least that way, we'd all still have money. Dad had me wait outside. When he came out, he stroked my hair, his eyes filled with a deep, pained affection. Don't worry, sweetheart. Daddy won't let anyone who hurt you and your mom get away with it. I don't know what Dad did, but my uncle later had a mental breakdown and was sent to a psychiatric hospital, never to get out. At first, the Shing family elders pointed their fingers at Dad and cursed him out, but eventually, they fell silent too. Because now, they depended on my mom for their money. Dad still lived in his own house. Even though he spent every day at our place, Mom still kicked him out at night. But he was relentlessly optimistic about it. Your mom lets me in the house. What does that mean? It means she loves me. She's crazy about me. Dad was truly a chameleon. If Mom showed him the slightest bit of kindness, he was all sunshine and rainbows. If she kept him at arm's length, he'd be back to his dark, mopey self. But now, when my parents attended the same galas, none of the other men dared to look down on my dad for being useless. Instead, they did everything they could to praise them, calling them a perfect match, a match made in heaven, destined to be together, and hoping they'd get back together soon. Dad was delighted to hear it, happily trailing behind Mom. Mom was right after all. As long as you have value, as long as you stand high enough, people will tell blatant lies to your face just to keep you happy. To please Mom, Dad gritted his teeth and tutored me rain or shine. Even though he questioned his life choices every single time, and even though he wanted to give up, he persisted. Finally, when I started elementary school and needed my parents' marriage certificate, Mom, just to save herself the hassle, got a license with Dad. Dad held the certificate, so excited that he transferred 2 more properties to my name. Luna. Your mom loves me. Why else would she marry me instead of just getting a document proving our relationship? She loves me. That very night, Dad moved all his things back into our house. Mom called him an idiot, but the smile on her face gave her away. I sat in the living room watching them by the door, my chin in my hands, shaking my head. Such hypocritical adults.